شكرا سيدة.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank you for holding this important session. I would like to thank the Special Envoy, Mr. de Mistura, for participating via VTC in Geneva. Mr. President, since the beginning of the crisis in Syria, the Syrian government has spared no effort to reach a political settlement. It has proven that repeatedly. We continue with this approach, and on the basis of its desire to end the Syrian bloodshed, the blood of our Syrian people, and our desire to restore security and stability and fulfill the will of the Syrian people, the Syrian government officially announced accepting the cessation of hostilities on the basis of the continuation of military counter-terrorism efforts against ISIL and Al-Nusra Front and other affiliates and other terrorist organizations affiliated with Al-Qaeda. This is in accordance with the Russian-American Joint Declaration. The Syrian government considers this declaration an important step towards a political settlement. From this podium, we reaffirm our willingness to contribute to the implementation of the cessation of hostilities. Mr. President, to ensure the successful implementation of the cessation of hostilities as scheduled, the Syrian government continues to coordinate with the Russian side to identify the areas and the armed groups to be included in the cessation of hostilities as long as it remains in effect. In this regard, we stress again the importance of controlling the borders, stopping the support provided by some countries to armed groups, and preventing those groups from strengthening their capacity or changing their locations in order to avoid what could undermine such an agreement. The Syrian government also reserves the right of its armed forces to respond to any breach by those terrorist groups against Syrian citizens or against the Syrian armed forces. Mr. President, the delegation of the Syrian Arab Republic has participated in the recent Geneva talks with good intentions and complete seriousness in order to reach a political settlement to the crisis in my country, Syria. Today, I reiterate the readiness of the Syrian government to actively participate in any sincere effort to reach this political settlement in which Syrians and Syrians alone decide on their future and on their choices through a Syrian-led dialogue among Syrians and without any foreign intervention. This would ensure Syria's sovereignty, independence, unity and territorial integrity. All this is part of preambular paragraph 2 of the resolution just adopted, Resolution 2268. Mr. President, based on the above, the ball again is in the court of other parties, which are yet to prove their good intentions and commitment to facilitating the settlement of the crisis in Syria politically without imposing preconditions on the Syrian people and without interfering in our domestic affairs, and through stopping support to terrorism and without any cover-up for this terrorism and putting an end to the practices of some countries that hinder the political settlement. Mr. President, the Syrians are invited to work on the promotion of national reconciliation and to make all effort to defeat terrorism and to rebuild a new Syria, one Syria, unified Syria in its territory and with one Syrian people, and to protect its sovereignty and national independent decision. In conclusion, Mr. President, our colleague, the representative of the United States, in her statement, said that there is no Al-Nusra Front forces in the area which is close to Damascus. This is incorrect in essence and in practice. There are elements of Al-Nusra Front in this town. Here is another new list that I present to you that includes names of hundreds of terrorist fighters that were killed in my country in 2015. Most of them are from al-Nusra Front and some are from ISIL, and some of them were killed in the town that she mentioned. What is important, Mr. President, here, that the real name of al-Nusra Front and your experts of the subsidiary committees of the Council know that name. It is known as Al-Qaeda in the Levant. This is Al-Qaeda. Who is the leader of al-Nusra Front? It is Al-Julani. He was the deputy of al-Baghdadi, who is the leader of Daesh, and he went his separate way and established al-Nusra Front. Al-Nusra Front is in effect Al-Qaeda. Hence, Al-Julani is the leader of al-Nusra Front, who has sworn allegiance to al-Zawahiri, who is the head of Al-Qaeda. Hence, al-Nusra Front is affiliated with Al-Qaeda. Al-Zawahiri has appointed a Saudi Mufti on issues pertaining to eating liver and beheading people, so that he would be the Mufti of al-Nusra Front in Idlib. Hence, here, this head of Al-Qaeda affiliate is appointing this person in Idlib in Syria. This Mufti is called Abdullah al-Mufaysan, and his name is within the lists of designated individuals and entities sponsoring terrorism. This is al-Nusra Front that some are trying to overlook references to it in the hope that al-Nusra Front will be included as an exception in the effort to fight terrorism in Syria. Al-Nusra Front is part of Ahrar al-Sham, another terrorist organization that was created by the Turkish intelligence that works in the north of Syria near the borders with Turkey. Mr. President, some have violated this resolution, Resolution 2268, the moment it was adopted. They started talking of things that have nothing to do with the resolution we just adopted. Hence, from this podium, I call upon the representatives of those states that have spoken of my country in a manner that is not appropriate, in a manner that does violate the provisions of this resolution. I call upon them to start abiding by this resolution in this hall before we start abiding by it outside. Thank you.